Hey everybody, this is Richie from the Metal Cell podcast. I'm delighted to welcome the Slua to the show. I've got Sean on guitar, Avi on guitar, and Killian on guitar, and maybe vocals as well, Killian?
Yeah, in a few places.
In a few places. Welcome to the show, lads. I'm glad you dressed up for it. This is the second time in a row, man. I'm on a roll here with Draconius as well. Modred deciding to put on the gear. It's great.
Yeah, I listened to that in the car on the way home just today.
Ah, okay, cool. And of course I've got Danielle, who potentially could be the Slua's #1 fan. We'll wait to see as the show goes on. See if she's done her homework on you.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, we got you like it.
Good to have you on board, Danielle.
You're pulling that hidden track. Fucking unreal.
Yeah. Now that said, there was a lot of stuff consumed while that was being recorded. And emotions were running high. Would that be fair to say, Danielle?
Yeah, it was a messy one, but I had said it in the car on the way down when I was listening to it as well. I had said it numerous times when I listened to it, so it wasn't just all the excessive, I don't know what you would say, yes, that were taken. So, yeah. Fucking, I hold true to it. Fucking unreal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So lads, he literally, in my opinion, came out of the blue. You might just maybe talk to us about how this whole, would you say it's a project or is it a fully formed band at this stage?
It's a fully formed band at this stage.
Good to hear.
Good to hear. Been kind of building this for longer than we care to admit. We've just been building it brick by brick for like 7-8 years. Basically, every side of the project is just, I think part of the problem is that we don't say no to ideas. We just keep following through with stuff, and it keeps taking up time, like masks, artwork, show reels. If you want to throw an orchestra in on top of an album, you can easily double the amount of time it's going to take to write and record. So yeah, it takes up a lot of time. Yeah, we've been working together for quite a long time. So.
And what's the dynamic between the three of you? How did you meet?
Well, Killian was the last to join. He's the last guy in, and myself and Avi met a long time ago through a colleague who recommended a guitarist. So we jammed together for a bit, and it was all clicking and stuff. And there's another side to the story, maybe.
Yeah, so we were jamming, and then one day I write to Sean. I say, Sean, I cannot play anymore. I'm not gonna come to practice anymore. I had an accident, right? And he said, if you don't want to practice, it's okay. You don't have to lie or do pretend, right? I was like, no, man, it's serious. I was like, I lost 3 fingers in a freak accident. I can't play guitar. I'm not going to play guitar anymore. And he just came home and we sat down.
Excuses.
Fucking hell. You could come up with a better way of getting out of practice. Like.
That's what I was thinking. It's a man who's determined to prove a point.
You don't know how bad the practices are.
I think we kind of hit a fork in the road, because obviously I couldn't pressure Avi to come to practice, but we bumped into each other again at a metal gig, and we got talking, and Avi was saying he was still playing, so I said, let's get a jam session together, and let's see what, just for an icebreaker, see how it goes. And he was playing just as well as he was before, so there's no exaggeration whatsoever. So I said, "Fuck it, let's stick with this and keep going." So that was kind of the initial, one of the first meetings, yeah. And then I think Chris came in, Chris, our bass player, then George. Who else is there? There's a few drummers.
It's confusing when it gets over 5, lads.
So yeah, that's kind of how it all kicked off. That's the initial story. But I mean, if you want to go, if you've got another 10 years to listen to a long story, I'm sure we can go on. But
I was just auditioning for a bunch of bands on forums. Can't remember what site it was now, but it's one of the common Irish sites just for finding people to play music with.
Mm-hmm.
And I was open to anything, even though it's really heavy, the album and the type of music we do. I guess the new track, that extra track, maybe tells you that we don't necessarily stick to just playing maybe just Pantera or Metallica over and over. You know, we listen to different stuff at the same time. So I was trying it for a bunch of different bands, and I was just bored auditioning for each one because they were just playing maybe Foo Fighters covers and not very well.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find a more technical band, and then I went from, you know, maybe 4 or 5 auditions in a row of being kind of bored with what I was seeing to then sitting down and Sean playing some tap piece made by Mozart, and me immediately thinking, I can't play that. He's like, no, you'll be fine.
He doesn't see the holes in my knowledge. Yeah.
Jesus. Daniel, what were your you kind of named out a few influences that you thought might inspire the lads, or what was your read on them initially?
Yeah, when I listened to that track, I thought Prolifica and Animals as Leaders as well. Yeah, definitely had that kind of proggy feel to it, which I loved. And it's like stuff that Pete always plays at home, and I just thought it was so different. It was a breath of fresh air to get in to review. And then I listened to the rest of your album, and I was like, this is completely different. I was expecting all of that. But it was a pleasant surprise as well, like, because it's not just the same thing as you said over and over again. You don't know what to expect from the next track, which is really nice. So yeah, there's a lot of influences in there, and I kind of thought similar enough to Lorna Shore at times, and they're blowing up at the moment. So it's a good time to be coming in with that kind of style of music at the moment. It's really kind of coming to the forefront again, and I think there'll be a big kind of draw for it out there.
I saw Lorna Shore and Brutal Assault, actually.
Were they good?
They were okay. I like Animals as Leaders, put it that way, but Lorna Shore, again, I thought they were a bit too diverse for me, being truthful.
Yeah, like as in they're pushing it for me, like as in I think you guys you don't overdo it with the synth and stuff like that, and I kind of find at times at Lorna Shore it's verging on me being like, ew.
Yeah.
But at the same time I still enjoy them. But I think you actually have a better balance of that than
I don't think anyone's ever called us balanced before.
No. Yeah, but
did she hit the nail on the head, that lads there, with any of those bands?
Definitely, I think we kind of steer towards anything instrumentally driven. Like initially, like in my earlier talks with Avi, like we wanted to do a completely instrumental band with no vocals, and then George walked in, and it was like we can't let him walk out the door. Like he completely tied everything together. But we've always been instrumentally driven. So pulling out a track like Volok was kind of like, I mean, it was, like I said before, when we started working with Oren, we'd already released the Living Creatures, and he was saying that he needs something new, basically, if we want the PR to work. So he basically said, you have 2 weeks, go. And we hit the ground running with a blank slate, and we pulled out the Volok single, and then we put an extended version of it on the album and re-released the album just to keep it fresh, because we're not, you know, we might be, you know, reasonable musicians, but we're not kind of queued up very well into the politics of the music business and the order we're doing things. We just think, we've done the album, just fuck it out, and everyone will love it. That'll be the end of it.
Yeah, but there's a great point to be made about that, because again, we wouldn't have come across you. A lot of the bands that we come across would be bands that we would have seen live. You know, they could have tagged the Metal Cell, or they could have tagged Evan or Danielle, or, you know, Joe and Adrian Williams and Burning Metal. So there's a few bands that come through various ways that make their way through to us. So, like, for example, I didn't realise the album was out so long, and then we got the single and went, wow, class.
No,
So-
we released the. I'm not even sure if anyone even knows it, but there's the Inhibited Creatures 2 was released before Inhibited Creatures 1, and that's the kind of like the scored, like it's completely orchestral, all the choirs. Basically, we pulled the band completely from the album. It just kind of came about because we were in the studio. And you end up mixing down elements in the orchestra that you liked to accommodate for the guitars and the band, and you might find it sounds different on its own. And we were kind of just looking over this, and we felt that had the strength to stand up on its own merit. So we released it as an album, a classical album, and yeah, like we're not even sure if many people know about it, but yeah, there's an Inhibited Creatures 2 there.
Yeah, they will after this.
Yeah.
So the name, the Slua, which one of you is into Irish history? I would imagine it's one of you is into kind of Celtic.
Well, I came up with the idea of the Slua because it's nearly impossible to come up with an original band name without, kind of, and even with a band title like the Slua, you kind of, I think if you Google hard enough, you'll come across maybe some other acts or even films that have kind of jumped on the title as well. So I thought it would be safe to stay with a language that some would consider dead. And Rob, not necessarily Rob, it's our heritage. So I thought we're entitled to it. We're going to take it. So we did, and we just it seemed to fit. Kind of the resonance of what we were doing, and then once we put the masks, the idea of the masks came afterwards, and then that just kind of tied in on top, and it just kind of paints a bigger picture. Really.
So the Slua, for those that don't know, it was prior to the introduction of Christianity into Scotland and Ireland. The Slua, they were believed to be some ill-gotten form of fairy folk with no reason, no loyalty, and no mercy. And that's ye, man. So they were thought to be once human, and humans are still very much their prey. The Slua exists on stealing the souls of the living, and especially the dying. So I love that whole aspect of that can be developed as a team.
We did stick with it in part. Like we try not to over milk one idea. We like to kind of keep things fresh. And as we're building the artwork for the sleeves and stuff, we acknowledge it a few times in the sleeves, so it's still tied in with the team. But there's other stuff as we release and people get to go through the artwork, they may have their own questions. But we do continue to intertwine it.
It's difficult to pronounce though.
And
we heard some really interesting pronunciations, particularly the slug, the slaw. Someone even called the album Ivanage Crusaders. I was like, well, at least we got airplay, but good luck finding us.
They just gave up halfway through.
Yeah, the artwork is very interesting, isn't it, Danielle?
Yeah, it's certainly different anyway. And I really like the idea that you're tying it all together. It's really, really cool. But it's really going to be exciting to see you guys live, and how you're kind of tie the whole team live then as well, because it'd be interesting.
Yeah, we're kind of really buzzed up to play live. We're preparing solely for live shows at the moment. After we've already got the single. Everything is kind of done with that. And once that's released, I'm not thinking about anything else other than getting on a click track and getting everybody, getting all the ducks in a row and stuff. But no, we've got plans for the live show where, like I said, because we've worked on the project for so long, we have a mountain of artwork, and we had so much of it that we were kind of like for the duration of the show, we were capable of kind of not necessarily animating, but including the artwork. We want to work with screens and stuff and strobing. So if you're a band, that's kind of tied to a click track because you have to perform with an orchestra anyway. You may as well kind of take advantage of the fact that you're playing to a click track. So we can program images to work with stuff. So that's kind of added work on top of the weekly rehearsals. yeah, we're building it brick by brick, but every week we're making progress and getting closer and closer. So
sounds like it'll be an immersive experience. So like it's not just going to be you guys up on stage playing and visual as well.
Plan unless they tell us we have to strip it back, which is a possibility.
Yeah, good luck with 6 or 7 of you on Fred's stage in Cork, lads.
We
could go acoustic, maybe.
We replace members with mannequins when it gets tough.
Now, I've seen it before that a lot of bands have 2 or 3 guitarists on the floor in Fred's as well, so we could make room. We'll fit you in somehow.
Yeah.
I'm interested on the arts and visuals side of it because you worked with Leonardo Satorelli, is it? Yeah, he's a Brazilian artist based in Dublin, and Carl Keel again.
Yeah, we worked Carl Killian done our main logo, the main bird logo, and then we went and we worked with Leo, and we sat down and we talked about our ideas and stuff, and basically in relation to what the sleeve would be, Leo kind of he drew up a load of stuff and he kind of passed it on to myself and Avi, and then we'd kind of start arranging it as it's going to land in the sleeve, and then that kind of, once we got the sleeve kind of finished, we kind of, what else can we do with this? So we ended up building the show reel on top of it. Sorry to backtrack on that, but yeah, that's kind of, yeah. We had a good time working with Leo as well, so we hope to have him on board for future projects. It's the same way with Carl. Carl was fantastic as well. Like it's great to be able to sit down and kind of talk to someone and then hit the nail on the head and kind of.
And is he based in Australia or is he here in Ireland?
Carl Killian, as far as I know, is in Australia at the moment.
Okay, so it was just back and forth emails and.
No, Carl Killian at the time was living in Ireland.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We had our art meetings and stuff, and he produced the logo, which is, I'm a fan of it, and I think George has it tattooed on his chest. So if it's good enough to be tattooed on your chest, I'm pretty sure you can print it on a few t-shirts.
It's nice to see something different as well. There are 2 artists I haven't heard of, anyone else in Ireland getting them. So it's incredible to see the talent that's out there and that it's been utilised within the community, so fair play to you for getting something different as well.
Oh, thank you. No, it's like we do kind of tip our hat to the art side of things. You could probably tell, like even the idea of wearing masks for the live show, like it comes back to the idea that we rarely say no to ideas because they're out of reach. We don't fucking know anything about making masks other than the fact that we have ideas. So
do you think, lads, that it's an area that often gets overlooked by bands, that they don't develop the concept of the art?
Be tiresome. It can be very tiresome if you're the guy sending the emails and making the phone calls. You might feel that you're better off spending your time on a click track, working on your techniques or writing music, and to some extent you are, as a musician, that's kind of the cross you've nailed yourself to. But if you want people to leave their house after a hard day's work in the middle of the week, you're going to have to give them as many reasons as possible for them to walk out the front door and come to your show, buy a few drinks and buy a t-shirt, so it's really, as well, was just an excuse to extend the artwork into a different medium.
Yes.
We kind of felt, we sat there like we could have easily said no to it, but like it just sounded like a good idea, and if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, like, one of the things was when we went to work with Mousy Workshop, they're absolutely fantastic. They're extremely talented artists. One of the conversations I had with the lads is if we go in and they're not up to scratch, which I didn't doubt, but you always have to, is it what we were looking for? We can't kind of end up going on stage looking like a load of clowns, basically. We had a bit of help as well. I mean, Killian's mask and Chris's mask. Chris is in here at the moment. They were both designed by Bruce D. Mitchell, as well, and he's worked on Dark Crystal, Aliens versus Predator.
Wow.
And all I had to do was ask politely if we could use his designs, and he was more than happy to oblige.
Wow,
and
that's great.
You know, if he feels like it, you know. I'd like to do a bit of work with him on the next album if it was at all feasible. So if he's listening,
I'll tag him.
There's kind of two camps, isn't there? Of I think I saw an interview or a documentary of Pantera back in the day where they were doing a lot of their glam look, and then they decided to ditch everything to do with appearance and just go with attitude and music. And some people kind of live and die by that. And then you have a group like Ghost who are doing the whole visual thing very well. And while someone like Pantera and like with their whole little reunion going on, they'll put on an unbelievable attitude, music driven show. But seeing a band like Ghost is theater as well as songs you love. So why not give that a go as well?
Good example, actually,
It's just become one of the things is I don't want to use the word market, but the way music is now at the moment, it's become so incredibly competitive, and it's the market. I hate using that word. The way it is, it's absolutely saturated. And if kind of like if you don't tip your hat to the kind of the artistic side of things, you nearly don't stand a chance. And you might write the best album that's ever written, but if you don't kind of get people's attention, you're, through some means, I don't think.
Yeah, the old denim and black t-shirt look is kind of exhausted, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So we've made these efforts, and
I think
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, fair play to you, man. Because I mean, people can see that you've spent the time developing this side of the band as much as the music side. So I mean, it's a package. Was that a reason why Oren got involved with you as well? Because I know he likes concepts and artwork and bands to kind of rep themselves properly. Well, how did that whole relationship develop?
He does. He seems to like the music, and he seems to like the project. He's Avi's wife is a photographer, and she's done some work for Overdrive, and she said, hit him up and give him a call and let him know he exists. And we were delighted to hear that he wanted to work with us, and it's good when you've got people kind of playing on your team as well. You've like someone like Oren, it makes things kind of like the playing field is more level, and it's less of an uphill battle. Like you've got, at least the music will get to people, as opposed to it kind of hiding underneath the tall grass. It'll get out there, and people will have the opportunity to listen to it and then say it's shit. So
I think he liked all the effort that was in it as well.
Yeah.
Said I didn't have the first call with him. It was Sean talking to him, but the impression I got was that, I assume, seeing as that he does this for a living, he comes across a lot of bands, so it was nice to see a band that arrived, I guess, out of nowhere, just from the depths of a studio room where we were just playing on our own for years, working away at stuff, and then to come up with something that had a lot of extra effort put into it. I guess for visuals, for music, for the live show, hopefully when we get around to it, we've tried to do everything different and to a high standard, which is why it's taken so long.
So, like, how hard is it to decide on when a Slua song has reached its final conclusion?
Well, with the Evolik one, we were basically told you have 2 weeks, and that's all you're getting. But like we may not even be finished with Evolik. We may come back to it, and George might have something to say about it. We work with Michael Viola. He's got a studio, a home studio, and he knows an orchestra inside out. So when we're building orchestras, we head out and like I'll go out with like 90% of the stuff written, and we'll go in and start building, and then I'll take that to track mix. But basically, if we were given more time, I personally like it. I like that it's different and that it sticks out, and that it's kind of like a stripped back version. You know, it's there's a nice contrast to it, but we might revisit that track.
I've got a feeling, Danielle, that they're tinkerers, that they just can't.
They keep going with it.
They keep going. They need someone like Oren to say, lads, fucking get it done. That's it. Enough's enough.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know when like, I mean, Black Moss Mountains and What We Are, both those tracks are half an hour long. We had to cut them in half.
One and two. Yeah.
Like that's a labyrinth, and even to write something like that, it's, I mean, fucking Jesus. If you told me how much work it was, I think I would have just gone and played fucking Fortnite or something. Call of Duty or something. It's like, this is just too much work. No, but it was worth the effort in hindsight. I was delighted.
It's a strange songwriting experience for me, because I don't listen to actually this type of music in my own time, really. A bit more of it now. Maybe the closest thing I've listened to a lot in the past was a band like The Faceless, maybe. But usually I'm classically Megadeth, Annihilator, thrash bands. And then
I hear you, brother.
Yeah.
We need that. That's in the mix.
As I matured, I got into bands like Mastodon, which I didn't like when I was a teenager, but then I bought Crack the Sky and thought, oh, that's shite. I'm going back listening to Trivium again. And then 5 years later, like, this is the best album I've ever heard. So writing songs with this band, at least I personally had to at least make the riffs and the part for the songs that I thought were cool and interesting and I liked playing. But I wouldn't know if the song made any sense or if I even liked it until we were already finished. And then I had listened to it for about a month.
You know what, the experience of going into the studio, basically when like I'd write Black Moss Mountains and then we'd send the guitars in. I'd record all the guitars at home, the lads would record as well. So we record outside of the studio for the sake of saving us money, and then we'll go in and reamp in the studio. But I remember we worked with Michael Richards at Track Mix, and I remember I sent him just the guitars, and the guitars without the drums and the orchestra. He was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" So I came in and I brought in the orchestra. He's like, "Oh, that's kind of making more sense." And then the drums tie everything together, and the vocals tie everything together.
Yeah.
So we've kind of. I suppose it makes sense in the end.
Yeah, because I mean, like, your style is both unpredictable and non-linear in relation to standard metal songs, and it definitely keeps it interesting. So, as Killian was saying, would Killian be maybe the anchor point of the band that you have to kind of gravitate back towards, because he could go fucking all weird and have gone.
No, I when Killian comes in with his ideas on dealing with weird time signatures, changing key halfway through a riff.
Jesus Christ.
Figuring this out. But it all works. Like there's breakdowns in that, and you'll be listening, and then you go, what the fuck are they doing? And then next of all, it's back. So there's some serious abstract stuff from Killian's end, definitely. Like
there's no anchor really.
Yeah, it doesn't seem. I was kind of relying on you, Killian, to be the anchor. Obviously,
no, there's none.
Actually, if there was, and in terms of the structure of the band, it would be Avi, because like myself and Killian, we're in the mix. We're right, left, and we'd be kind of like the tech end of it. Where if you had tech without melody, you've just got tech guitars, which are great in their own right. But I think to paint that better, you need melody and movement. So Avi would be the melody and movement that kind of ties the two guitars together. So if there's anything that would be comparable as an anchor, it would be Avi's guitar center, definitely, just to keep me and myself and Killian, relevant. I think would be, because we do some crazy shit.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll play a song off the album, and like Invidid Creatures, so that's obviously divine creatures.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I definitely broke the code there. Thanks for the acknowledgement. Did you know that,
And
Dan?
enduring.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a meaning to any bit as well. It means
It's less cooler, but it's still cool.
Yeah.
So we're going with our meaning.
yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so this is Hemispheres, so we'll give this
It's my
blast.
favorite track.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like falling down into this void. I could imagine smoking this big joint, listening to this on the headphones and getting a whitey after 5 minutes, and frantically trying to turn off the music.
Part of the charm of the mask is not seeing the expression on my face when I put that up.
So the MIDI drums, for example, on that, who would have worked on that?
On Hemispheres, myself and Michael Laviola from the classical studio, because we were at a point where we had to build, we came to the decision to MIDI the album because it was like I said before, Gabriel had to step out because he had tendonitis and we never thought we were going to see him again. And basically the entire album had to be MIDi'd out because between the songs being so long, a lot of people just said that anyone who tried just got impatient with half-hour long songs. So we ended up MIDI and the album, but it was MIDi'd out. Myself and Michael Laviola built all the MIDI for that, and then we brought that into track mix. Then we built the kits, and then that was another layer added onto the audio. But we're blessed that Gabriel decided to step back in again because I don't think I think he's the only man with the patience to kind of try and understand what's going on with the structures of the songs.
Would you have figured out roughly how much studio time that all that took?
Well, if we didn't record at home, it would have been ridiculous. If it seems to be people kind of much like when we went to Bowsy Workshop, they like the project, so they said they kind of work for us and they won't charge us a ridiculous amount of money for it. You know, they liked the project, they liked where it was going, so they kind of jumped on board. Maybe they just wanted to see their name on the project at the end of the day, but we were very happy to you know, credit them as an all. But with regards to the studio time, I couldn't even count. I mean, I'd be up in between the orchestra and the drums, I'd be up in Michael's place like 3 times a week, you know, and we'd be building, and, you know, when you eventually get it done, and it's time for studio, and then recording the guitars at home, that's more time as well. 3 guitarists on top of that, and then, I mean, it kind of made, I'm glad we did everything outside of the studio, because once we went into track mix, it made everything more streamlined. You know, we got all our best takes at home, and we weren't looking at a fucking ticking clock. Yeah. Oh, you better get this right, you know, tick, 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 you know, the session's over, XYZ. And that can, you know, for me, that's a serious headache. So it made more sense to do the guitars and stuff at home. We went in and we amped. Vocals were recorded in our rehearsal space, and I don't know, man. If we were to add up every time we had to plug in the jack into a recording thing, it'd be, I don't want to think about how much time it was. But But you can. It was, I don't know, to amp and mix the album, it was a couple of months, a month maybe, and most of that was corrections. I mean, like, Michael Richards is the most fucking patient man I've ever come across in my life.
Must be.
He's
I respected him before this interview. Now I fucking respect the shit out of me. Jesus, like.
I went in I must have gone in with 50 pages of corrections and adjustments, and I'm holding this big wad of fucking paper, and I'm going, giving him the time, the bar, minute, adjust this, blah, blah, blah. And then you go off, you listen to it, I was better the other way, etc., etc. He made, like, every request. He reached every single request and fucking pulled me away from some bad ideas as well. Like, that's
important too. That's an important part of his job.
Yeah, you'll come over and pause, and there'd be a silence, and he'd hear me talking to the guys, and he'd look me in the eye, and he'd be like, "You're not fucking turning that guitar up." Because, you know, when you're mixing something that's so, there's so many layers to it, you can often, you know, you can often lose sight. You know, it's good to have someone to pull you back on the fucking.
Like, were you aware, Daniel, that when did you become aware, put it this way, of the second album being a total, just the orchestra?
When I seen it on Spotify.
Okay.
So, like, yeah, I seen it on Spotify, and I was kind of like, oh, I would have thought that it, like, came out, like, I was like, oh, is it like a volume thing that you've got, like, the first one and the second one? I didn't realize that it was the orchestral version of the first one. So yeah, it's the one on Spotify, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So yeah, I spotted it there. Spotted it on Spotify.
And you're saying that the orchestra version, which is part 2, came out first?
Yeah, I was just
everything goes wrong.
I love this. This is fucking mental.
The PR, the releases, the singles come out after the album. Just asking me about our work ethic here. It's like, just fucking get it done. It doesn't matter what order it happens, just make it happen. So, it was really like, we just, I went back and remixed all the classical stuff to have everything prominent the way you'd want to hear it, had it have been like a Hans Zimmer score, or because I'm quite a big fan of film music as well. So I kind of sat down and remixed that, and just thought this is good enough for a release. So we decided to push that first. Consider it the first single. I don't know, we got a very big fucking single.
Like, but, Sean, apart from being a mad professor, what is your background in relation to music? Like, have you been in countless bands and they just thrown you out because you just go down these rabbit holes and nobody can pull you back, or?
No, I've kind of no classical training with music. I can only tell you what my guitar is tuned to.
Right.
Everything else is like the screaming voices in my head. make this noise on the guitar and record it. No, everything else is just sitting at a click track and practicing. Like I tell you, once you have a good knowledge of your scale shapes and stuff.
So are you self-taught and then you just...
Yeah, I'd kind of be like Killian, like most other guitarists. There's nothing kind of special about the...
I think we're all self-taught.
Yeah.
I was sent to guitar lessons once when I was a kid, but I didn't have the patience to kind of show up every week and practice. But that's, you know,
like for them to produce something like this, Daniel, it's fucking crazy. Like, it's like you really, like people that are listening and watching this that don't know the Slua. They've no idea what's
ahead of them.
They just have no idea of this massive concept of just like incredible. As I said, you're non-linear, you're unpredictable, but like, I mean, somehow through the whole lot it makes sense, and I love an album that will bring you on a journey, and you've achieved that as well, which is mental considering the length of time and the songs that you have composed. But it doesn't get boring, it doesn't get repetitive.
Yeah, I'm glad you think so. No, it's kind of like really kind of achieving this is really just about how long can you bang your head against the wall for before you can get something what we would consider to be our idea of perfect. You know, like we worked with like Michael Richards is extremely talented. You know, I went in and he's like, what amps do you want? I'm like, you're the fucking guru, you decide that. Michael from the classical studio as well, his knowledge of an orchestra is extremely extensive. So, you know, when he's self-confessed geek, one of the biggest geeks I know, and he'd be proud of me saying that. Like the guys, you know, we just work with competent people, and we go in with a direction. Like I said, we go in with like 90% of it written, and like even with regards to the classical stuff, like all of it's like the guitars come first, and basically what happens with the classical stuff, it all works from the guitars. So we'll go in and I'll be kind of like piano here, cello here, flat there, and occasionally be like, I have a better idea, and he does, and belt it out. So we wrote all of 128, the classical. I gave him free rein on that. I said, do what you want.
Wow.
And he did the classical 128, and that's kind of the single as well.
And Matija Novak came in on the drums for that. Was it the MIDI drums? How did that happen?
Matt came in and jammed with us a few times, but he's not a fan of kind of like the more extreme version. He's the guy who likes to enjoy what he's doing. He likes the drum and enjoy it. Because if you're picking up techniques like blasting and stuff, there's a lot of click track work, and like, I mean, Gabriel, for example, he blew his wrists out doing it as well, so that can feel kind of, you know, it isn't fucking fun basically. But Matt came in and he jammed with us, and he was like, yeah, look, I'll write witches and I'll build the MIDI for 128 and what we are. So I sat in with him and we wrote the drums for that. We MIDI'd everything out. So that's Matt helped us out with that. So like I said, we work with competent musicians, competent people who know what they are. More importantly, people who want to do the job, because you can't achieve something like this and not want to do it. Like you will hear it's slacking in places, you know. So
okay, so you've got all this amazing music, and then George comes into it. Yeah, so it feels to me like there is a team running through it musically, and the way it's paced, and, you know, as I said, peaks and troughs. But the lyrics then give it a whole different dynamic. But I don't know, can he speak for George in it? But I mean...
I can speak with regards to his... he seems to have a very anti-systematic approach to what he writes. Like, he's gone off and he's studied environmental science and stuff, and he's, you know... he writes from that perspective as well. He'll write from... like there's kind of in places kind of like nearly a spiritual element about what the guy writes about, like That was a Hemispheres, Black Mass Mountains. Sometimes, because the songs are so long, different sections will have different, even different themes. Like he'll cover an awful lot of different things. Like even Hemispheres is about like how the common psychology is what's wrong with mental illness, and that it's the majority of you're told that you have to fit a certain construct.
Yeah.
You have to fit into a certain box to be considered to be mentally well, when in fact this box is really just kind of like you're just you're an ape in a cage.
Yeah, I think he sums it up nicely, because like thankfully again, massive kudos for putting the lyrics with your songs on Bandcamp, because they read like around 3 versions of Dante's Inferno for each song, but I just took out snapshots of some of his writings, and I found it very interesting. In Black Mass Mountains Part 1, the best prison is inside you, the best slave goes home to eat, generating huge distractions, porn, drugs, alcohol, TV, misdirecting your attention towards stupidity to divide, creating conflict, fragmenting society. So stuff like that it's kind of futuristic, but it is acknowledging,
It is what he says as well.
Slaves seem to be common occurrence right through. And I just would, it's a pity he's not here, because he kind of goes on about 2 serpents will rise together, waters of the sacred river. So I was kind of wondering what that was about.
There is something behind that. I cannot directly quote it, but he spoke to me about that before, but you can imagine. We had a lot of conversations, so I'd be afraid I could give you the accurate answer. But no, there is meanings behind all this.
One other one there, which grabbed my attention as well, is What We Are in Part 1. Bleed for the sun straight into night, congealing passages of time. Does this resemble us? Can we break apart eternity? Can we slip away from normalcy? Is it all we are? Is it just one piece, a puzzle that's made from you to me, from sun to night? So, there's quite deep passages as well that maybe are self-explanatory for George to talk about.
I think you had a hand in writing that as well.
That one was me, but so long ago now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Man was handed a guitar, and that's all he thinks about.
It's just not a pretty face.
It wavers about just, he kind of, you did tie in with the kind of like the vibe and George's, just basically, I think.
I think the idea behind that, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was the idea of, humanity repeating the same mistakes over and over.
Okay.
An interesting psychology of, that there's no stopgap and just doing the same stupid shit over and over again, and when might that end, or will it just bleed into eternity? I think that was the point.
So in We Are Part 2 then, rule the world with iron fist, deafening noise, polluting brains, leaves you blind and makes you slave, stunts to music, no harmony, untuned voices, chaotic orchestra. I mean, to listen to the song and to hear those lyrics sang the way they were supposed to be sung, again, just sends your mind spinning off in different directions. And to fuck it up even more, then you decide to go into Spanish.
Oh,
I mean, come on, Jesus!
I thought it was a good idea, because George is he's Colombian. He's originally from Colombia, and he lived in Italy. He flies over for recording rehearsals. He'll fly over for gigs. We still work very closely together. Basically, he's pretty fun. What was the answer?
Why did you go into Spanish for?
Why did we go into Spanish?
For a certain section.
I thought it was interesting to give him the chance to have a passage in his native tongue, right? To be able to, I thought it, not for any other reason, for the fact that Spanish is his language, and he should have a say, much like the way we titled the Volok. It's Irish, so I
think there's probably a natural attitude that will come out in his voice as well.
Yes.
I think that was the same thing with Rammstein when they first started out. They were just doing it in English, and then they thought we're not getting across the best sonic experience that we can out of your man's voice. And then of course they start doing it in German, and it's one of the best aspects about the whole band.
Yeah.
This big growly German voice.
Yeah. Excellent.
I'd like to
And
do-
like again, from a live performance, there's no way he's gonna fucking remember all them words, man.
Oh no! George is one of the things was because George is like when he was flying over to record, we'd go into the studio. He was sleeping in the studio as well at one stage, and not once, not whatever techniques he's practicing that he's capable of, not once did he ever say I need to stop. And I'd be hitting him with take over and over again just to get the timing tighter and tighter, and he could have sung it a bit more, you know what I mean, to try different styles, and not once did he tap out. But with regards to him remembering his lyrics,
Nah.
I hope he fucking remembers his lyrics.
But see, the thing is, nobody will know.
No, that's what I was going to say.
Well,
No
we
one's
just
gonna-
randomly break into Spanish, and we could just say it's part of the show. No, he's on the ball.
Yeah.
Fair. He's on the ball. They're all his own words, and if he forgets them, it's you know.
And Killian, you have vocal duties as well.
Had a few, yeah. There's clean vocals for some sections of What We Are Part 1 and Part 2.
Okay, so you're doing the clean vocals. Okay.
Yeah. I think one of them, the ones in Part 2, we added in just to bolster some clean vocals that George was doing anyway, and to put some harmonies on top of it. And I think with Part 1 was probably your idea to have in some clean vocals on their own, just to throw in another interesting little tidbit and see how it worked.
Good.
The goal
It was a
being-
nice change of pace, like, you know.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah.
The goal being to be kind of unpredictable as well. Like I think if you weren't if you weren't expecting it, it would be quite like
But Joe wasn't.
we're
No.
here.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, because one of my friends, he plays guitar for years as well, has his own band, listens to metal all the time, same as the rest of us, and wouldn't be a huge fan of the rest of the album, but he likes all the clean parts, all the clean vocals, and all of the clean sections throughout the album. They're all his favorite bits, so it's nice that those different parts seem to resonate with people, even people that just listen to metal all the time.
Yeah, it's just the way you embrace chaos. I mean, you could put them together with Strangers with Guns, really, as a tour, couldn't you? The
Yeah,
two
that's
extremes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to listen to these guys. I keep hearing their names, so I have to
They're
Yeah.
cool.
pay attention to what's going on around me. It tends to happen when you're writing your own music. You don't pay attention to anything other than what you're doing, and the last thing you want to do after playing a guitar for hours and hours and hours is listen to more music. So you have to just put your head down and do what you have to do, labor on it, and then if you get to listen to music afterwards, it's a bonus, which is rare. So.
Yeah, embrace the chaos, lads. Don't ever change. What have you planned for the rest of the year? Can you give us an insight into maybe your plans? We're coming to the end of August now, so...
We've the single coming out on the 15th of September, and I can't give specific dates on anything
that's
or
fine.
even anything booked, but we're just going to grind until the live show is ready.
So when will you...
Then when it's ready, we're gonna.
Yeah, because there is promoters and stuff that listen to the show. Like, when do you think you could be actively looking for dates? Would it be December, or would it be actually next year?
Oh, before December. Before December. Yeah.
Good to hear, yeah.
That's what I mean.
Hopefully a month, depending on what life throws at us.
Yeah. So it can be unpredictable.
Yeah.
As long as no one loses any more limbs.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. I would be worried to be someone in this band, being truthful,
Yeah.
after the drummer and Abby losing 3 fingers. Abby, so, what technique do you use to play guitar then?
Just use my thumb, like it's okay, right? I have a special pick that I bought from a brand called Mountain Picks.
Okay.
It's basically just hook it up. It's not a new idea, but the way they did it, it's pretty good. So I took my chances and I tried, and that's that. I just hook it up. I try different places, different positions, and I found how I can play the best, and that's it.
Luckily enough for you then, or unlucky for you, but you were right-handed anyway.
I am right-handed, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm right-handed, so that helped. And I have to say that possibly the fact that I was playing guitar before that helped me as well with accident, because I can still articulate a little bit. I can still move, and it didn't pull out the tendons. It didn't get any worse. Yeah. So even the doctors were a bit surprised that I'm still able to
That's
move
incredible.
Whatever's left. So.
And just for the tech heads out there, what guitars do you all play? And
Ibanez RG 2228 8-string.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got 2 of those. I started playing some Ormsby's recently to try those out.
Right.
You know, try to get into all the 8-string fan frets, try them all out, but they're expensive. Trying out is slow. I think you're Ibanez as well.
Ibanez as well, yeah. 7-string, S-series Ibanez, yeah. 7-string, yeah.
7-string, wow. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, Daniel, for the lads, before we pack up?
No, but I just have to say, as it gets darker, your masks are getting more terrifying. So yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah, please go down
really
to the
cool
local
see,
centre wearing your mask there, lads, and get a few beers. And
Yeah, just on an added note, when we went up to the Dublin Mountains to do that photo shoot, we scared so many fucking dog walkers. And we had to do nothing. We just had to stand on the road and just watch them turn on their heel and walk the other way. And that's when you realise dogs don't give a fuck about masks, because the dog would keep walking at you and they'd be trying to call the dog back. Yeah, the mountains is no place to be walking around looking like this, 'cause, you know.
oh, actually, I always ask this as well. What about merch?
Merch. We have T-shirts.
Right.
We have Inhibited Creatures T-shirts with the main logo on it, and we have the classical album printed in CD. So
Yeah, nice.
that's what we got at the moment.
Okay, and that's on your Bandcamp.
That's on our Bandcamp.
Nice one. Okay, lads, so you've been listening to the Slua. Absolutely brilliant talking to you. I love what you're doing. As I said, don't change. Maybe Michael Richards probably has lost less hair on his head because of you, but
We're recording again. He has a headache coming down the road, and we can't go anywhere else. That's the way it is.
so Sean, Avi and Killian, thanks for coming on the show, and check out the Slua. We're fans, we're converted. All their stuff is on Bandcamp. Keep an eye on the single. It's coming out on September when, lads? 15th of September.
Yes.
Okay. And crucially, support your local metal scene. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, lads.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, guys.